There are a few things that investors need to consider when they're looking at investing in HMOs. From a legislative point of view, the two big ones are planning legislation and licensing legislation. From a planning point of view, in England, up to 6 people may be permitted development, and so 7 or more people you would need planning permission for. That's called a C4 use class HMO, between 3 and 6 people. In Wales, any size HMO needs planning permission. In Scotland, more than 5 people needs planning permission, so depending on your region, really depends what requires permission and what doesn't. Similarly, they can remove this permitted development right. So in some cities and towns, particularly on the coast, or if there's a big student problem, an Article 4 direction can remove your permitted development right to have up to 6 people in an HMO, and that means that then you would need planning permission for any size HMO pretty much. In terms of licensing, this is more to do with the health and safety of the property rather than with the actual principle of the use. And what that means is that if you've got 5 or more people, you will always need a licence. There's also additional and selective licensing, so different properties might need a licence as well. And there's loads of different requirements you'd need to meet. So things like fire safety, room sizes, number of bathrooms, number of kitchens. Things to be aware of, which again can vary by local authority, so you have to know your area to find out what requirements you have for planning or licensing for an HMO. So there are loads of different places that you can find out what these regulations are for your local authority in particular and the country that you're in. Council website is a great place to start. They usually have dedicated planning pages and dedicated planning policy pages, which is where you need to look at rather than just the previous general planning information. Another tip is maybe look at searching previous planning applications that have gone. So if you know you need planning permission, you can search planning applications by the type of application submitted. So you could go on the council website, see if other people have been applying for HMOs, what policies it's been tested against, and get an idea of how the council are treating new HMO applications. That's a kind of indicator. In terms of licensing, again, you can have council websites usually are quite comprehensive. Generally, I'd say the bigger cities have much better information available online because they're more used to HMOs. If you're out in a bit of a country location or perhaps they're not used to students, you might find it a little hard. So I would always say contact somebody in the council. It's usually environmental health for licensing, and get them to send you a copy of the most up-to-date stuff, just because it might not have been updated on the website with things changing. So one of the benefits of joining PPP is that you've got a whole planning team, which I head, which cover all this legislation. So we do planning, licensing, we also do building regs, we can check covenants for you, all this sort of stuff, all in one place. I've been with PPP over 6 years now, so I've got quite a bit of knowledge sort of in my head of if you rung up and said I'm looking at a certain town, I can give you an indication straight away how they'll be treating it. Because we're a nationwide franchise, we compile the country's worth of data. We've got lists of all the HMOs across the country. We've got all the reports we've ever run on different local authorities to which you have access. Plus, when you join, we'll do you a new report on each local authority you're looking at investing. So before you go out and look at houses, you know what the requirements are, so you're not looking at properties which wouldn't ever get permission to be used. Council tax is something that we have noticed a little bit across the country, but it seems incredibly property specific. We've had some in the franchise where we've had 12 room HMOs all en suite banded in one council tax band, and yet we had another one down the road, 6-bedroom HMO. All the rooms were banded separately. There doesn't seem to be rhyme and reason in the way that the Valuation Office Agency are banding HMOs at the minute. But there was an all-party parliamentary group report a couple of years ago that PPP is still chasing up. We're working with some expert specialists on trying to maybe create a specialist HMO band itself so that landlords know where they stand. One of the things a lot of people are concerned about is oversaturation of HMOs in some areas, and particularly perhaps some parts of a town in particular might be studentified, unidentified. Ways to identify it, the local press are great. I mean, Brighton and Hove papers at the minute are full of people lobbying against HMOs and not quite understanding what an HMO is and all that sort of stuff. So that's hitting there. The press is a good one. And also, again, just searching planning applications. If a lot are coming up, that indicates that perhaps the planning department enforcement team are out on the streets, they're looking for HMOs running without planning, or you've just got a lot of landlords getting into the game and doing it properly and going for planning permission. So that's another way of looking at it. At PPP, whenever we have someone join the new area, we do a freedom of information request to that council and get a list of all the HMOs that are licensed in that area. But yeah, freedom of information request can also give you that information.